The United States House of Representatives has voted to impeach President Donald Trump for a second time. Trump was charged with incitement of insurrection following the storming of the Capitol by his supporters last week. The president will now face a trial in the Senate, but that appears unlikely to happen before he leaves office in a week from now.
This was the moment that made history. Donald Trump became the first US president ever to be impeached twice.
On this vote, the ayes are 232, the nays are 197. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
And this time, it wasn't just Democrats who were in favour. 10 members of Trump's own Republican Party also voted to impeach the president.
The president took an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Last week, there was a domestic threat at the door of the Capitol, and he did nothing to stop it. That is why, with a heavy heart and clear resolve, I will vote yes on these articles of impeachment.
The impeachment proceedings moved at breakneck speed. The result coming just a week after the violence at the Capitol. Democrats were hoping to remove Trump from office just days before his term ends. But that would first require a trial in the US Senate. And there, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has rejected a quick process, saying there is no chance of a fair or serious trial before the president leaves office. Donald Trump denies his fiery speech last week and cited his supporters to storm the US Capitol building. Shortly after his impeachment was announced, he released a video online in which he distanced himself from the violence.
Mob violence goes against everything I believe in and everything our movement stands for. No true supporter of mine could ever endorse political violence. No true supporter of mine could ever disrespect law enforcement or our great American flag.
It's unclear if lawmakers will get the two-thirds majority needed in the Senate to officially convict Trump of incitement of insurrection. But now it does seem clear that any trial will take place once he's already left office.
Well, correspondent Oliver Sallet joins us from Washington for more. Oliver, welcome. Trump has finally clearly denounced the violence of his supporters last week at the Capitol, but made no mention of his impeachment. What do we make of that?
Well, this is the condemnation we have been waiting for, and that was essentially expected on the day or the day after of a U.S. president, of course. Well, it now came a week after the riots, and first, you remember, Donald Trump sent out those mixed messages like we're used to hearing from him throughout his presidency. He said, "We love you, you're very special," addressing his followers. After he incited a violent mob to take on the Capitol, where 5 people were killed, he then later told that crowd to remain peaceful and now condemns the violence a week later. But still, as you mentioned earlier, no congratulations, for instance, for Joe Biden for winning the presidency, no acceptance of his defeat. And also, he did not mention the impeachment proceeding against him with a single word. So the Democrats are now saying this is simply too little, too late.
Mr. Trump has made history, Oliver, by becoming the only US president to be impeached twice, and this time with bipartisan support. How significant is the latter point?
It is very significant. Those were only 10 votes of the Republican Party that voted in favor of impeaching Donald Trump. But if you consider how close the ranks of the Republicans were throughout Donald Trump's presidency, and if you compare this to the first impeachment trial and proceeding earlier, then, of course, you can tell that the ranks are not as close anymore, that support for Donald Trump crumbles, and the party is right now really in a phase without a certain direction, with no clear vision, and is facing big challenges, especially where are the Republicans headed without Donald Trump.
So the next step, Oliver, is a trial in the Senate, but he only has 7 days left in office. How does this proceed from here?
Well, this is going to be the first trial after a president has already departed. So just imagine that the trial will take place without Donald Trump being president. It will be Joe Biden. That has never happened before. The Democrats will then hold the majority in Senate. They can shape the rule of the trial. That will be a certain advantage for them. But remember, you need 2/3 in Senate to convict a president, and they don't have that, the Democrats. So it's unlikely he will get convicted. But it will certainly be a statement and one for the history books.
6 days now until inauguration, and security precautions are being ramped up. But one could argue this is a case very much of closing the stable door after the horse has bolted here.
Well, it's right. And I mean, if you just imagine how Washington, D.C. feels like at this point, the whole Capitol Hill area is cordoned off. There are fences with razor wire really surrounding the whole Capitol and a large part of the downtown area, 20,000 soldiers on the streets. This is more than in Afghanistan, really. It's a surreal atmosphere. The whole downtown area also under lockdown. So D.C. seems safe right now at this point, but of course the problem is that the FBI is concerned about violent protests throughout the whole country, and the concern is then that it's not everywhere as safe as it might seem right now in Washington, D.C.
Oliver Sellett in Washington, thanks so much.